Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. The concept of personal branding has been around for a while now. Leaders have been told it's good for business, that customers want to know who they're dealing with, that the image you portray is authentic and aligned with good business practice. But making sure you're personally on point is not so easy. And then, hold on, it's not just about you anyway. Now you need to extend personal branding to the people around you as well. Mentor, keynote speaker and author John Di Natale has developed a program called Amplify to help people develop their personal brands. He'll explain what's involved and why it's good for business in a moment. First, though, from Heather Dawson, why does personal branding now have to involve everyone else in the leadership team? What's going on? John explains that the world has changed substantially since we've all moved online.
And so now more than ever, the brand is not the domain of just the leader, and it's certainly not the domain of the marketing department anymore. The brand is actually now shared and spread by everybody who's in the leadership team. So anybody who has a social media account and something to say is part of your brand.
Oh. Well, to go back a step, what is personal brand? John, how would you describe it? Because is it just like your profile?
Well, it includes your profile, but it's also much more than that. So creating your personal brand really comes down to finding your uniqueness, building a reputation on the things that you want to be known for, and then becoming known for them. It's the expertise, experience and personality that you want the world to see. So we know that people take in a lot of information very quickly, but we don't spend much time thinking about that when it comes to our personal brand. So the thing that matters even more than first impressions is your personal brand, because that's a lasting emotional impression, visual impression, emotional impression that people have of you over a period of time.
Okay. Well, you've developed a program called Amplify to help people develop their personal brand. So can you give us a bit of an idea about what's involved there?
Sure. Amplify is designed to help you build the confidence and learn the skills that you need to create and nurture a personal brand that you want. It's a process of digging deep to find out what you want to be known for, what your values are, and how you want to make your mark. When we're clear on that, then we get to work on crystallising your key messages and skilling you up so that you can share those in a way that's engaging and inspiring and actually make a difference.
Well, the process can be quite probing, can't it? You have to sort of think long and hard about some of the questions that maybe you ask during the Amplify process.
It can be. Interestingly, most people don't think about these questions at all. And so as a result, their personal brand is created sort of by default. So for the people who go through the process consciously and with intention, there can be a little bit of soul-searching, but it's a very rewarding process nonetheless.
What sort of things do they have to ask themselves, or should we be asking ourselves?
Well, I think first and foremost down to your values. What are the things that are important to you? And I ask a question of people, two questions actually. I say, well, who are you, Heather, first of all? And I listen to that answer. And then I ask this other question, which is, well, who are you really? And I get some really interesting answers when I ask that second question. They go, well, I'm a business owner, but I'm really passionate about this. Right? So I think it's really understanding what drives you and how you want to be represented in the world and how you want to make a mark on the world.
I think those questions are quite difficult, John. Now, you talk about helping clients rethink their key messages to make those messages more engaging. So if you go through that process, do you find that the messages come out quite differently?
They do, absolutely. So interestingly, as I just mentioned, I'm currently working with the director of a very large, well-known manufacturing organisation, and most people would know him as a business leader. But his passion is helping disadvantaged kids in developing countries. And so, he's building a really strong brand around that and has some really compelling messages around that, and that's where he sees the focus for himself in the next 5 or 10 years.
Okay, now an important part of personal branding is good public speaking, and that's something that many people find hard to do. So What do you think are the tricks to improving public speaking?
Oh, goodness. Okay, we could spend days and weeks talking about that. I have a little series of steps that I call 7 steps to amplifying your speaking performance. Can I share those with you really quickly?
Yeah.
So step 1, do your homework. So know who you're talking to and why. Have a clear outcome. What do you want your audience to think, feel or do? Manage your state, control your energy level, so be sure that you're at peak sort of state before you step out. Be real, be authentic, that's how you build rapport and trust. Don't just tell your audience, engage them and challenge them. Keep practicing, keep improving, and of course perhaps the most important one of all, have fun.
Well, I noticed on Instagram yesterday, because I was just checking out a couple of things, and you popped up, John.
I see.
And there was a whole conversation around whether you should tell jokes in your presentation, and it was really interesting seeing all the comments.
Yeah, some fundamental things that we're taught about speaking. So, for example, always open with a joke and loosen up your audience. That can be great advice for some people in some circumstances, but not always. And so it's good to question these things, and it's really interesting the different perspectives, as you say, that come up when you ask these questions.
Do you think going through a personal branding exercise takes a lot of time and commitment because, business leaders are busy?
Well, I understand that business leaders are busy, absolutely, and it doesn't have to take over your life, but as always, it's a case of what you prioritise. And so if it's important to you to position yourself in such a way that you attract your ideal contacts and your ideal clients and your connections to you, well, then it's worth the investment of time. Of course, when you say yes to anything, Heather, you're effectively saying no to something else. So that's a choice we have to continuously make.
Well, final question. Convince me, John. What does personal brand development really do for a business over and above a focus on just the products and services that business might sell?
Wow. I don't know that I can convince you, Heather, but I'm up for the challenge.
Okay, give it a go.
Well, we want more than products from the businesses that we interact with. We want real people. We want real stories. We want inspiration, authenticity, and all those words that are thrown around, regularly now. We want to know what an organisation stands for. What issues does it care about as an organisation? And that's where the leader has a really significant role to play. So let me run a few names past you and tell me whether you think these people would be where they are now if they had not cultivated a really powerful personal brand. So someone like Elon Musk, for instance. Now, you don't have to know much about technology, but you'll certainly know who Elon Musk is and some of the things that he believes and some of the things that he values. Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V as his millions of devoted followers know him as. He's pretty much the messiah of hustle, right? He has the knack of telling it like it is. Yes. He's totally authentic in amongst all the F-bombs, right? So he has a profile that is way over and above what his business would have achieved just as a business. Seth Godin has a habit of writing books with crazy titles like Purple Cow and Meatball Sunday, right? People want to hear from Seth. They don't want to hear from Seth's company. They don't want to hear from his organisation. They want to hear from him personally. And, this list probably wouldn't be complete without the queen of personal branding, someone like Oprah, for instance. Now, Heather, you know that when people recognise you by your first name, Prince, Spider-Man, Oprah, right, you know that your personal brand is on point. I'm not sure I convinced you, but I tried.
That was keynote speaker, author and creator of Amplify, John Di Natale. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.